Hey, Mac, how's it going? Listen, this is a message-style report from President Biden. You have to read, what's that say? What does that say? Homestuck, Alternative Universe by Funk McLovin. All right? You got to read it. I don't make the rules. The story is the tale of John Eggert, Dave Stryker, Robe LeBlond, and of course, who could forget Jade Barely? The fuck kind of name is that? All right, you got to read it. Otherwise, I'll have to call the CIA, all right? Or a Secret Service. Goodbye. I love you.
Hey everybody, this is Funk McLovin. I wanted to reflect upon Homestuck Alternate Universe and the rewrite project in general after about 3 years of making it. It's been about 3 years, maybe like 2.5. The first video from the rewrite project was on July 18th, 2021, and it now has 11,000 views. Now, in the grand scheme of YouTube, that's like really small, but I'm really proud of that 11,000 people were, clicking on my stupid fucking video about those thoughts. The first Homestuck Alternate Universe video was released in December of the same year, 2021, which to me is fucking insane. That's 3 years, 2.5 years ago now. That video has 7,000 views, but the playlist that has Homestuck Alternate Universe's episodes has 42,158 video views, or playlist views, I should say, which is, to me, incredible. I'm very thankful for it. I know that, again, not a big number in the grand scheme of YouTube, but like it's a big number to me. So fuck off. I don't know how many playlist views the Rewrite podcast has, because when you set something as a podcast in YouTube, it takes away like the view count for some reason, which is weird. Right now, all of the videos get about 1,000 views per vid. And like 20 to 30 people at the premieres, which is, means a lot to me. I like that. I'm really happy and grateful, and my goal is to take Homestuck Alternate... My cat just brought in a... Can you hear him? He's like chewing on a marshmallow bag. Anyway, I want to take Homestuck Alternate Universe to the next level, because it's something that means a lot to me, and I've noticed that it means a lot to... Can you not? It means a lot to other people. I love you. I'm not doing another take. This fucking sucks. I'm already 2 minutes deep. Stop it! I love you. What a cat. He just drags shit around. I love him. So, I wanted to ask a bunch of frequently asked questions, first and foremost, about the Homestuck rewrite that I get a lot, and I'm sick of answering, so I just want to refer to them to this video instead. The first question is, what the fuck is this? Homestuck Alternate Universe is a rewrite of the story of Homestuck adapted into an audio drama. It doesn't get more simple than that. We just remade Homestuck with my own creative voice and in a different style. Question 2. Can my cat get out of my room? Hey, I'm gonna throw something at him. It hit the chair, he didn't care. Question 2, why did you make this? Well, because I like audio dramas, and I thought it would be fun. I was wrong about that. It's not fun at all. It's actually incredibly stressful to make something like this, to commit to doing it. The third question I think is the most interesting, which is this legal? The answer to that is I don't know. Homestuck isn't enforcing their copyright right now. If this was like a rewrite of Steven Universe, I would have been blasted off the internet immediately. And I've done some like real advertising through SockCon and some other channels. So I think if they would have cared, they would have by now. Hussey has the legal right to tell me to stop because he owns the copyright for Homestuck, which covers, derivative works of that nature. But I don't think he will. Which, again, is because he's been in contact with people from SockCon where I have made promos for Homestuck Alternate Universe. I really don't think he gives a solitary fuck. I once got an email. I got an email regarding Homestuck Alternate Universe, but it was from like a fake What Pumpkin, which I think is hilarious. I might talk about that at a later time. But so that's kind of the FAQ out of the way. If that's all you're here for, just kind of the general information of HSAU, that's what it is. It's just a audio drama version of Homestuck that I'm rewriting and getting the help of my friends with. But the second part of this video, which is going to take up most of the runtime, is addressing some critiques. And there are three main critiques that I want to address first before getting into kind of superficial critiques. The first three critiques I want to talk about are it's woke, the wokeness, they don't like the wokeness. The second critique is a perceived feeling that I hate Homestuck or its fans. And the third is that people really kind of question why I would be doing this or question my hubris. And there are some other critiques that I will talk about when I get to the end. As for the first critique, the critique from wokeness, I won't spend a lot of time on this. A lot of people say June Egbert sucks, and I want to defend myself a little bit, knowing that I won't reach a lot of people who weren't already on board with June with this. The whole June debate comes from like 2020, but I still see it now, 4 years later. June Egbert is the most hated element of Homestuck Alternate Universe by a country mile, and people complain about her because she seems forced or they're just sick of seeing her. Against all odds, I kind of see why people don't like June Egbert. To many, she is an exercise in what amounts to fandom unreality. June was invented from whole cloth by a wish made on a Toblerone years ago now. A lot of trans people don't like June because she seems like Hussey's attempt to cash in on minorities, J.K. Rowling style, and a lot of weird assholes don't like June because they hate trans characters and think they suck. HSAU, being a different piece of fiction based on Homestuck, included June from the beginning in the hopes that I could give her a more complete story and to give John Egbert more to do. I love John Egbert in the original comic, but I'd be lying if I said I thought that he was some shining star of characterization. He's a very passive protagonist, which isn't bad on its own, but my goal was to make him more interesting by making him into a her. Everything I wrote for June is also ripped straight from my life and experiences, such as the bit about reading Ranma 1/2 and being inspired by older women in my family as female role models, much like, Dave was basically just Hussey in the original comic. That said, if you don't like how June is because you don't like trans people or you don't like the idea of John being trans, then I don't know, watch something else. Read the epilogues. They don't have June in them, and neither does HS2 as of right now. The kernel of truth in this critique is that I have done a lot to change the character of John or June, but I really like to think it's for the better, even if it's not for everybody. So, if this is your TLDR, if you think it's woke, I don't give a shit. If you don't like June, then, there's other stuff to watch. The second critique that I want to cover is the idea that I hate Homestuck. And I've seen this a lot, especially during the Homestuck rewrite days, and I think it's a misattribution, and I want to clear the air about it. Something common that I've seen is a reaction to the AU, usually for people who would prefer not to read the AU, is the idea that I don't like Homestuck. I get where this comes from. Historically, there has been a lot of reflexive distaste for Homestuck on all kinds of websites. Whenever a Homestuck-related post goes viral, there are always eye-rollers in the comments bitching and moaning about how annoying or inscrutable the webcomic is, or how irritating and droll the fans are. To be clear, I'm not part of this camp and never have been. I've been part of several zines, part of the now official Homestuck online convention SACON, and I've been releasing Homestuck music for years now. I've been part of a lot of fan communities, and Homestuck is far and away the best community I've ever been in. Now, that might raise some eyebrows since Homestuck has a long history of toxicity and surely contains some uniquely boneheaded bigots and creeps, but if you compare the really tame June-bugging stuff to the, Smash Bros scene or the Steven Universe fandom or Rick and Morty or Doctor Who or fucking Danganronpa, At least Homestuck doesn't have, like, trans-hating plot elements in its actual run. To be clear, I'm not saying Homestuck is spotless either. There are plenty of weirdos, creeps, losers, and whack jobs out there if you look hard enough, from people who defend bestiality, to people who ship Dave and Bro together, to Nazi LARPers. To me, this is not endemic to Homestuck, but just being online in general. There's always some strange contrarian prepared to debate you on whether it was okay for Caliborn to call Jane fat or not. I made HSAU to make more Homestuck, not to destroy or try to hide any existing Homestuck. I love Homestuck, I love the fans. As always, I work hard to bring more to them. That's all I want. I want attention from people who like the same things as I do. That's pretty normal. The kernel of truth in this criticism is that there are some elements of the fan community and elements of Homestuck that I do actually dislike. I don't think it's unreasonable to dislike elements of a story, though. Often critique is the mark of a true lover of a piece. If you want more on my actual thoughts about Homestuck, what I like and dislike, then look at the Homestuck Rewriting podcast. So here's the TLDR for this bit. If you think I hate Homestuck or its fans, I don't. The third critique, which is the critique of, like, hubris, is the final one that I want to talk about that has any sort of significance. I think it's the longest section that I wrote notes on. So, recently, a new friend of mine said something that drove me slightly insane. They said that they avoid rewrites of media in general because there is usually present a self-aggrandizing quality, or an I can do it better mentality that is, in their words, quote, fun to joke about but sucks when real, end quote. Another associate in one of the creative writing servers I'm in said that they have pre-existing ideas of the characters that aren't compatible with my ideas, which makes it hard to enjoy Homestuck Alternate Universe. This has been mirrored by comments made by some strangers both in my YouTube comments and made while discussing HSAU on various websites. I'm not trying to put these people on blast, and if you're watching, I don't actually disagree with you, but I want to push back a little because this is quite possibly the single biggest critique in good faith of Homestuck Alternate Universe that I get. First of all, the idea of self-aggrandizing is... it's pretty funny. The idea that me, a trash writer, could think that the fool's errand of rewriting Homestuck was an act of value or hubris is entirely idiotic. If you think I'm trying to perform some act of self-aggrandizement, put that out of your mind. All I have ever gotten for HSAU is open mockery and hilarious dunks on my person. This project is entirely, completely stupid. As for the notion that I can do it better, or that I can do it better mentality, this one is kind of interesting to me, because I kind of do feel it. Especially during the podcast, our raison d'etre was to do Homestuck better and address some critiques we had with the format and the story. Though an I can do it better mentality is not difficult to have with regards to a webcomic that, by admission of its own author, sucks. Homestuck was basically a Frankenstein's monster of ideas and narratives and follow-through that took 7 years to finish by one fucking guy. He did have help, but it was all written by one fucking guy. This was not a story that was told in an elegant fashion, and telling it better is more of a question of dedication than skill. Something Janaya mentioned several times in the Rewrite podcast was the idea of Homestuck as a first draft, which we kind of used as our guiding light. Hussey had one shot to get Homestuck right. He had one pass, he had one draft. He might have done planning, he might have done revision, but what he wrote was what he wrote, and there are some glaring faults that he couldn't retcon his way out of. Even the most die-hard Homestuck-loving absolutist agrees on this. There is this notion, one that has never made sense to me, that Homestuck is this impeccable masterpiece of art and medium. Sure, Homestuck did change the world, that is my true belief, but it didn't do so because it was a good webcomic. It had exploitable Sona-compatible character designs, it had a whimsical tone, and ultimately a culture surrounding it that fueled the fire. It was the culmination of many pieces of 2010's culture, from conventions, to Tumblr, to YouTube voice dubs, to fandom in general. Homestuck is in the DNA of countless voice actors and game designers, from Octopimp to Toby Fox. But Homestuck the webcomic itself is a dumb, stupid story that sucks. Homestuck is the ultimate gestalt, the behemoth that is greater than the sum of its parts. People complain constantly about this fucking clunker. Act 1 drags on, they say. Act 6 is too boring, they say. The retcon should have never happened. The ending is too abrupt. The flashes are too confusing. Hussey's self-insert is annoying. Mina dated a minor. The pauses were too long. None of the lore got expanded. None of the kids talk like teens. Death doesn't matter. The Dancestors suck. Nepeta shouldn't have died. And most of all, Hussey is mean. More than anything, Andrew Hussey simply seems to rather dislike his readers, pranking them at every turn, getting increasingly bitter and jaded towards them as the comic goes on. He was writing something that he felt he had to finish, and that can't have been good for his creative juices. I'm not going to pretend I know what was going on in his real brain, but he wanted to be fucking done with Homestuck, because where is he now? He's gone. So yeah, I think I can do better, actually. I don't think it's self-aggrandizing to say. I think anyone who has two shits to rub together about it could do better, and in fact, they have. Act 8, Burning Down the House, Desynced, Crow Strider, all of these are continuations and alternate stories that have way more thought and heart put in them as Homestuck. Hell, I think Andrew Hussey could have done better. I've seen what the guy can make when he gives a fuck, and it's pretty good. For evidence of this, read Problem Sleuth, which is what I would argue is Hussey's actual magnum opus. Most of all, though, people think that I'm trying to erase Homestuck or replace it, or that I want to somehow take over Homestuck. This is not that project. Homestuck still exists. Bambosh's unofficial collection is a testament to this. People still love the original comic. All I ever wanted to do is remix it. I come from music. I went to college for music, and I made music before I did other YouTube stuff. In the world of music, an original composition is not very precious. In fact, it's very common for musicians to take cover songs or iterate on existing music. The music industry and the art of music is rife with people stealing each other's ideas, be it chord changes, or melodies, or motifs, or entire fucking songs. This idea of a cover is what I took into Homestuck AU. Frankly, I'm a little surprised that people were so skeptical about HSAU to begin with. I made dozens of cover songs, and no one ever batted an eye at those. They didn't even have to be good for people to appreciate them. I don't see anything different to covering a song to covering Homestuck in its entirety except scale, and medium, obviously. I just wanted to adapt a piece of media I love into a new form that I like listening to more. I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know what hubris there is in that, but if you want to read it into me, fine. TLDR, to wrap up this section, I'm not trying to destroy Homestuck. If you like Homestuck, all I've ever wanted to do is to make more Homestuck. For you. For you listening to this. So that's the main three critiques that I wanted to cover. Now I want to get into some miscellaneous critiques that I don't take as seriously, that, it's not really interesting to me. I'm just going to hit them as bullet points. The first one is the critique of, that I hear a lot, make your own stuff, or that fan art is not necessarily as good of a creative medium. This idea that, fan art is bad. I don't know where this comes from, but a lot of people have a bug up their asses about fan art as a medium. I don't really understand it. They think fan art isn't real or something, and they say, why not just make your own story if you want to write? Well, I have made my own stories. I make an album every year on August 31st. I have original stories on my channel. I have original essays and a video playlist, and the next project I'm working on between Homestuck AU Act 4 and 5 is a project in my own universe. So there you go, I do make other shit. I'm making HSAU because I want to make it, and no one has stopped me yet. The second critique is people complaining that I changed something. You changed X, Y, and Z. I did change a lot of stuff in Homestuck for the AU. The thing I've seen the most complaints about is how we changed the kids from 13 to 18. I don't really get why this is such a big goddamn deal, as it's a pretty small change. The kids' ages in the original comic didn't come up that often in the plot, and being 18 made it so that they were adults, and also on the cusp of leaving home, which I thought was a more appropriate thing for a coming-of-age story. All of the changes have a purpose, if you think about it for 2 seconds, so if I changed something or left out a character you like, I'm sorry, it's probably not for you, and I'm okay with that. Here's another critique that I get. A Homestuck alternate universe is a dumb name. I saw someone say this in the Homestuck Discord, and I have to say, yeah. I wish I'd spent more than like 10 seconds thinking of it. What's done is done. Everyone knows it as Homestuck alternate universe. HSAU is a good acronym, I guess. I don't know. I wish I would have thought of something better. But hey, retrospect is hindsight is 2020. That's how it goes. The last thing I want to talk about is inaccurate characterizations. This one is the only critique that I've mentioned so far that I pretty much 100% agree with. The characters in HSAU aren't entirely accurate, or they sometimes aren't as rich, especially the trolls, who I really had to cut down because there were 12 of them. Still, the story isn't over yet, and I have plans for a lot of them that people have complained about that I think you'll like, especially Aridin and Nepeta. I wish I had time to give every character more stuff because of, there are fans of every character. I tried to be faithful to the original while expanding them to be more, but I didn't get that in a lot of cases. A lot of people seem to dislike what I did with Aridin, like I said, but he has a pretty big moment coming up, so just fucking hang tight, guys. The one main guy I think I've changed the most is Dave. He doesn't ramble nearly as much and seems more grounded because I don't want to write dialogue that doesn't push the story along. As such, he got the most significant cuts. On the flip side, Rose and Jade, who kind of weren't present, both have way more to do, so it balances out, I think. If you're entirely married to how a character acts, then this is probably not for you, and I'm okay with that, and, I think that you're probably okay with that as well. Some people are very particular about the idea of a character that they have in their head, and people see different things when they see the same piece of media. I'm just expanding on what I saw. I do a lot of research when I'm looking into the things that characters might do, and I actually have a chat in the main server that I'm in where I discuss work stuff that, I try to justify all these things. I run it past people. I'm not just doing this for no fucking reason. So that's about all I had to say. I don't really know if you guys will like this video or not. I made a similar video before with a little Q&A after I think it was Act 2 finished up. And I like these little reflective videos about Homestuck AU. It can be fun to, go over what I've written already. HSAU has been fun. If you like it, you'll like it. If you don't, you don't. But I wish more people would take a chance on it. Reflecting on this has been very enjoyable, and I like to think about the media I make. I think that other people should make videos like these, reflecting on their own stuff. I guess I was just surprised at how many people liked HSAU to begin with, and even more surprised at the people who had actual critiques of it. I'll be honest, I don't really work that hard on HSAU, and whenever I get a critique, I feel a little bad because they're thinking about it a little more than I am sometimes. Usually, I'll think about something, and when I send it out, it's out. And I have a lot more stuff to do in my real life. I wish I had more time to devote to HSAU is what I'm saying, I guess. I wish that it could be something that I focused on more, but I've got like a day job, I guess all that I have to say is, stay tuned. I love you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hating my guts if this is something that you watch to, hate my guts, but, bye. Huh?
Okay, you know what? Let me vent about Homestuck Alternate Universe. This thing sucks. I don't know why it's so loved throughout the fandom, throughout the whole fandom. Funk McLovin missed the mark in every conceivable way. Every conceivable way. The plot takes a backseat to, quote, more progressive plot lines. I'm not a June hater, but John's entire first chapter, Eric/dialogue, is basically thoroughly replaced with, duh, guys, I feel weird about my gender. It's too much gender, folks. There's a bunch of new garbage characters with basically no development. Who in God's name is Casper, and why should I care? And good Lord, the butchering of every conceivable character. Name a character they've either been totally forgotten, or basically had one of their least likable traits expanded into their entire arc, if you can even call it that. Oh, and don't even get me started on the stupid, watered-down dialogue. It's horrible, folks. I tried reading it once, and I literally felt ill. I felt ill at the Rose John Pester lot about sex with John's mother. Homestuck alternate universe is like if you explained Homestuck to someone secondhand after only having read the first half of it back in 2009. And then the other person proceeded to fill in the gaps in your knowledge with the literal worst possible cliches and traits that they could think of. And people eat it up. They eat it up. They do. They eat it up.